I finally found what I was looking for. Now I can finally summon Lilith, the goddess of vampires.
My name is Brent Bosworth, and I summoned Lilith, the goddess of vampires. The whispers and the reckoning, the scent of iron and ancient dust clung to my clothes, a grim perfume for the desperate ritual I was about to undertake. My hands, trembling not from fear but from the sheer audacity of it, traced the final glyphs in the cold, damp earth. The air in this forgotten attic, thick with the silence of generations, pressed down on me, amplifying my solitude. This was it. The moment I had meticulously prepared for, the culmination of years spent feeling like a ghost in my own life. I was tired of being unseen, of being a pawn in a world that offered no true agency. My existence felt stifled, a cage of societal expectations and personal limitations. I craved liberation, a means to reclaim control over my destiny, and I believed Lilith, the ancient symbol of untamed female power, held the key. This yearning for freedom, this deep-seated rebellion against subservience, mirrored the very essence of Lilith herself. Ancient texts spoke of her as Adam's first wife, banished from Eden for her refusal to yield, becoming an icon for those who aspired to equality or even superiority. My own life, though devoid of biblical drama, echoed that primal refusal to be contained. I had found this abandoned attic in my inherited crumbling house, a place empty of everything but fear, perfect stage for a forbidden act. Its oppressive silence and dust-laden air were a constant reminder of my isolation. Yet they also served as a canvas for the power I hoped to unleash. Using the forbidden vampire Bible, which I found from a source I will never disclose, I began chanting the forbidden texts to summon her.
O goddess of vampires, I call to you, I summon you. Please hear me and bless me with your immortal blood.
I moved with a practiced, almost ritualistic precision. The sacred circle, meticulously drawn with chalk, shimmered faintly in the dim light cast by 13 black candles. These weren't ordinary candles. Their wax was mixed with what the grimoire vaguely described as fiend blood, a detail that sent a shiver down my spine, even as I lit each one. The air quickly grew heavy with the cloying, sweet scent of incense, made from corpse flowers, burning in a brazier of tarnished gold. Within the circle, an unholy symbol, intricate and unsettling, was drawn with a thick, viscous liquid. Celestial blood, the text had called it. My grip tightened on the unholy dagger, its bone hilt smooth and cold, and the set of cold iron handbells felt impossibly heavy in my other hand. The timing was crucial. The ritual was set for the precise moment of a lunar eclipse, a rare celestial alignment that, according to the lore, thinned the veil between worlds, amplifying magical energies. As I began the ancient chants, my voice, though hoarse, resonated with desperate hope. Every syllable was a step into the unknown, a perilous gauntlet of will and knowledge. I knew the high stakes involved, the potential for drama, and the chilling truth that once this portal was opened, there was no guarantee it could ever be closed. My focus was absolute, a desperate prayer against the immense personal investment I had made. I had studied the ancient texts, pieced together the fragments of forbidden lore. I believed I knew what I was invoking. Lilith, the first wife, the mother of night, the true goddess of vampires. I anticipated a powerful, blood-drinking entity, one that would grant me the strength to break free, to reshape my pathetic existence, to become something more than human. This was my firm conviction, the promise I held on to as the last vestiges of the eclipse deepened the shadows around me.
O Lilith, hear me, I offer you my soul, I offer you my devotion. Bless me with the bite of immortality.
The unveiling as the final guttural chants left my lips, and the last drop of celestial blood was absorbed by the symbol. The atmosphere in the attic intensified dramatically. The 13 black candles, which had burned steadily, now flickered wildly, their flames dancing with an unnatural life, casting writhing shadows that seemed to claw at the walls. The air grew impossibly heavy, charged with an unseen energy that pressed down on my chest, making it difficult to breathe. A sudden, profound drop in temperature enveloped me, chilling me to the bone despite the heat of the burning incense. Then came the whispers, ancient and unintelligible, emanating not from a single source, but from the very stone and timber of the old house, echoing a supernatural presence that defied my mortal understanding. I braced myself for a monstrous roar, for the appearance of a horned demon or a fanged undead creature, as my studies had led me to believe. But what manifested defied every expectation, every image I had conjured. Instead of a violent explosion of fire and smoke, the air within the circle simply shifted. It was a subtle, pervasive change, as if reality itself bent to an unseen will. A localized fog, cold and ethereal, began to coalesce, swirling with impossible grace. From its depths, she emerged. Not a monster, but a being of unsettling, profound beauty and immense antiquity. Her form was fluid, shimmering like heat haze over a desert, composed of living shadow that defied solid definition. She radiated an aura of ancient wisdom and untamed freedom, utterly devoid of overt malice, yet chilling in its detachment. Her eyes, however, were a different matter. They were pools of liquid night, holding a depth that spoke of eons, and a chilling, predatory intelligence that saw through me into the very core of my being. She did not bellow. Her voice, when it came, was not an external sound, but a resonant whisper that echoed directly within my mind.
You sought me, mortal. Now listen.
Ancient and knowing, carrying the undeniable weight of living darkness. It was the voice of a being that transcended mortal categories of demon, spirit or vampire, a creature unbound by Eden's chains. My mind reeled. Confusion warred with a terrifying awe. My understanding of Lilith, of what I had summoned, was profoundly flawed. I questioned my own sanity for a fleeting moment, then the undeniable reality of what stood before me. This wasn't the blood-drinking succubus of folklore, nor the undead queen of vampires I had sought. The initial curiosity that had driven me, the simple question of what happened, is now replaced by a far more complex, terrifying inquiry. What have I truly summoned, and what does she want from me? I limited. Understanding of the ancient entity clashed violently with her undeniable presence, creating a profound, disorienting tension that pulled at the threads of my very being. The price of power. Lilith communicated not through spoken words, but through a direct, overwhelming influx of understanding into my mind. A torrent of ancient knowledge that bypassed my ears and slammed directly into my consciousness. She dismissed the notion of blood drinking as a crude mortal interpretation, a mere shadow of her true nature. Her feeding, she revealed, was on something far more profound. Something that resonated with my deepest desires for liberation. She consumed the very force of freedom itself, the chains that bound individuals, the illusions of choice, the essence of self-determination. She offered a twisted, absolute liberation in return, a freedom that came with an unimaginable price. She was the archetype of the woman scorned, the one who rebelled against the duties of womanhood and wifehood with demonic glee, taking on the form of a succubus that fed off the life force of others. She hinted at her role as the mother of monsters, the mentor of Cain, who taught him how to master his disciplines, suggesting a deeper primal connection to supernatural power that far transcended simple vampirism. My initial desire for power, for a simple pact, was a childish plea in the face of her ancient cosmic hunger. This was the "then this happened" moment. The payoff was not a simple grant of power, but a profound, irreversible transformation of my very being, directly linked to Lilith's unique form of feeding. As she fed on my perceived limitations, on the self-imposed chains of my mundane existence, I felt a terrifying emptiness, a void where my old self used to be. It was as if my very essence was being consumed, leaving behind a hollow shell. But this void was immediately filled by something alien, something ancient and powerful. A chilling energy transference that permeated every fiber of my being. I didn't become a blood-drinking vampire in the traditional sense. Instead, my senses sharpened to an unbearable degree. The mundane world shimmered with new, unsettling significance. My perception of reality shifted, revealing layers I had never known existed. I gained a unique, unsettling power directly tied to Lilith's essence, a nascent ability to manipulate shadows, to hear whispers from the deepest past, and a chilling intuition about the force of freedom within others. It was a heightened version of a talent I had possessed, now twisted and amplified by Lilith's influence. The act of summoning and the subsequent transformation forged an unbreakable, perhaps unwanted, bond with Lilith. I could feel her presence lingering, a faint whisper in the newly expanded corners of my mind, an echo of her ancient will. I was now one of her offspring, in a metaphorical, perhaps spiritual, sense, irrevocably tied to her mission, to her nature. A mix of terror and profound awe washed over me. Disorientation threatened to consume me, yet a chilling sense of new purpose, or perhaps a new burden, began to settle. I felt a phantom limb of my old self, a ghost of the human I once was, even as a sudden profound connection to the night, to ancient power, and to the very concept of defiance solidified within me. My distinct identity, my unique way of experiencing the world, was now irrevocably colored by this terrifying exchange. Echoes and new horizons. The attic, once merely a dusty, forgotten space, now hummed with residual power. The shadows seemed deeper, imbued with a life of their own, and mundane objects appeared with a new, unsettling significance, vibrating with energies I could now perceive. The sacred circle, once a boundary, was now a scorched scar on the floor, and the scent of iron and ancient dust, once a perfume for the ritual, felt like a permanent part of my own altered being. The world was the same, yet entirely different, seen through eyes that were no longer entirely human. I was irrevocably changed, physically and spiritually, and this was only the beginning. The first subtle manifestations of my new unsettling power began to emerge, raw and uncontrolled. A shadow in the corner of my eye seemed to deepen and writhe in response to my thoughts. A whisper, too faint to be human, echoed from the ancient plaster of the walls, carrying fragments of forgotten narratives. I could feel the subtle currents of freedom in the air, a terrifying awareness of the choices and constraints that bound others. I had wanted power, and now I had it, but it was a power that felt both exhilarating and deeply frightening. A constant reminder of the lack of control I truly possessed. The encounter with Lilith had not resolved all my problems. Instead, it had opened a door to a vast, dark world I never knew existed. I realized with a chilling clarity that I was now a target, or perhaps a pawn, in Lilith's larger ancient machinations. Her mission of vengeance hinted at in the lore, or her role in a looming Gehenna showdown, now felt terrifyingly real. A final, cryptic message, a silent imprint left in my mind by Lilith before she faded, hinted at a looming threat, a new, horrifying purpose I was now bound to fulfill. My desire for liberation had come at an unimaginable cost, transforming me into something I barely recognized, something that struggled with its own identity. Am I still human? Am I a monster? The ethical implications of my new abilities weigh heavily, forcing me to grapple with the chilling realization that true freedom might be an illusion, a different kind of chain. The story of my life, once confined, has now become a terrifying, unfolding narrative, and I am left to wonder what new horrors await me in this altered reality.